baby trees.
Bonsai. Bonsai.
Bonsai. Bonsai.
Close enough.
The Black Pondo Podcast.
Bonsai. Bonsai.
Bonsai.
Bonsai. Bonsai.
Bonsai.
The Black Pondo Podcast.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you sitting down with me. And I am absolutely blown away by everything that I just got to see. Your new garden is looking absolutely stunning.
No, thanks.
And some of those trees, I am just made my jaw drop. And I'm very jealous of, especially some of your spruce. Those are insane.
Yeah, they're great trees. And I know sometimes you get zone envy when you don't know if you can keep them in your place. But this year, like, I'm excited about some of the spruces too, because I've been sitting on them for a while.
Yeah.
And so there's a few where I'm still not gonna, maybe I style them later in the year, but there's still a few that I'm just gonna sit on them for one more year, but they're coming out of winter really well and they're growing really well. So I'm pretty encouraged by that. So
yeah. I mean, a couple of the trees you showed me, especially the one that was in the box with the two sections of root.
The coffin. Is that in the coffin?
Yeah. Like those types of trees, I just feel like I could just look at all day.
Yeah.
And so good job.
No,
good job.
I'm curious as to how old that tree is, because that tree it's super, super old to get that big. Because usually for some of those trees, for every, like with conifers, like with ponderosas, a lot of people say it's 100 years per radial inch.
Yeah.
Where those, when I cut them, it's about 45 years, so it's a little less than trees in the rock. But when you have a trunk that big, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's got to be pretty old. So
totally. Yeah, I kind of want to just bounce around in terms of topics, if that's okay, sure. Because you just bring up things that make me very interested in, and I'm really interested in the spruces, and like all the collecting and all that. One thing I really want to make sure of is that I'm very respectful, and if I ask you anything that you don't want to answer or whatever, you just tell me.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I'll beat around the bush about it.
Yeah, good.
I'm pretty good at that. So don't worry. Just ask anything.
Okay, and I'm not going to ask you like locations of collecting or anything like that.
Yeah.
But tell me about those spruce and spruce in general. So you find them both in a fin area, which I would love to ask you more about, and then also in like rock pocket.
Yeah. So some of the spruce that I get come from rock, and then some come from private property that I have access to. And so I go up there, but it's the only conifer that grows there are spruces. So that's what's kind of unique about it. And then in that area too, there are native orchids, like high alpine orchids. There's wood lilies, which were like endangered. There's all these dwarf, like these different grasses that people, horticulturists, have come there and think that like 99% of their population are in this one area. So it's it's a very interesting place. But the only conifer that grows there are blue spruce. There's like river birch and willows and different, deciduopotentilla. Like there's some pretty cool potentilla that are in there.
Wow.
But the only conifer, are the spruces. So
that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Fascinating. And collecting is an interesting topic. I mean, and I don't even know, I don't love getting into like the ethics and all that, just because I feel like it deserves a podcast on itself, right? Be like a whole day long.
Sure.
And I think people just get very sensitive about it, but
yeah, they do.
I'm curious. So I've heard a lot of talk about the fin. So there is a fin here. Can you explain what a fin is?
Yeah, it's kind of it's like a microclimate, basically. And it's like a a small area where it's like it has its own little ecosystem. Because like where these trees grow and where I'm talking about right there, there are all these, like the grasses that are only like 99% they think grow in this one area. But then once you get out, like once you hit the edge of this area and you start going up the side of this, like of the mountain,
Yeah.
there's bristlecone, there's ponderosas, there's all this other stuff. But part of it is there was a river that ran through this. And so they think, I don't know, however million years ago, there's this like a mudslide and some glaciers carved this out. And so a lot of what's there is kind of like, I think it's kind of like silt,
Yeah.
and it's like clay and it's very, fine. But then right underneath it is all river rock. So it's flat river rock, even where there's no, so trees aren't able, they can't grow roots down very deep. They all have very, very shallow root systems. And it's interesting too, because when you see trees and then right before where the trees are, when you're driving in there, it's all like, it's like prairie,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, boom, you're in the trees. So why they don't creep out any further, it's just, it's very interesting as to how that whole place exists. But yeah, that's kind of what it is. I know Randy gets some blue spruces from an area, and I think he's found a similar location.
Okay.
Or not a similar environment.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and it's interesting with collecting. I find that it's all about what is naturally dwarfing these trees. And so we collect trees out of these trees that grow on rocks, and I usually call them pocket trees.
Yeah, sure.
Because they have a confined root ball. And then it's really cool to learn about, there's this thing called a fin. So you think that there are multiple fins, not just...
Yeah, there's more than... Yeah, I'm assuming they're all over the world, but different fins may include different species of plants, versus like, oh, well, blue spruce growing all these multiple fins. I don't think it's like that. I just think it's these little microclimates where certain plants are able to grow there when others aren't, so.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
It really is. So then, like when I dig any of these spruces, when I bring them home, there's all these wildflowers in there, or these wild plants. So I always I remember like in 23, the ABS show was here. And so I was one of the artists and I did a workshop. We were doing blue spruce. And so Young Cho, and she was like, before we started, she was like, anyone, if you want to take any of the plants out, let me know, because I would love them or keep them, because she recognized what they were too. It's like it's pretty interesting. So I tried to, and they're pretty sensitive. I have a spruce out there that has like a lady slipper orchid in it, and I didn't dig it. It just came up one year, and I took a picture, and it was on my stories on Instagram. And Young messaged me, and she's like, "Do not touch it." Because you'd probably kill it. And it's like, do not touch it. So, wow. So I don't know. It's just stuff like that there. It's like and even when you're in the mountains, I'm sure you find a lot of like interesting, just kind of native plants and ground cover and different things that you can use for accent plants. So now I try to save as many as I can and make interesting things out of them.
No, I love that idea. And I feel like the most authentic accent plant is something that grows, just alongside them in the mountains.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's so cool. Nice. Well, I feel like we just jumped into things. I'm sure I'm going to have a bunch of questions that pop up in regards to those areas that we just spoke on.
Yeah.
But actually, can we back up a little bit? And I would love if maybe you would just give us kind of a brief overview on your bonsai background.
I don't know. I was in Spain and I forgot to grow a bonsai from seed kit. So I bought that in, 20 some years ago, brought it home. It was like a black pine. It sprouted, then it died. And so I just started looking up Colorado Bonsai, and I found a place that was actually called Colorado Bonsai. That was Harold Sasaki. And so it was right by my old work, which was Kong. It's a pet toy company.
Totally familiar.
Yep. So I was art director for that company for a while. And so I would just during lunch or after work, and then on weekends I started going over to Harold's and volunteering. And then he introduced me to Jerry Morris, who actually found, like with this fin that we're talking about, he found that fin, and people would pay him. He worked for a family in Vail, and basically he built a mountain there. And he brought like all this stone in, brought in all these ancient bristle cones, and built a mountain. And then they would pay him. Part of his job was to find like unusual plants. So he would just drive all over the country and find odd plants and then bring them back and plant them in this guy's garden. And so he took me to Utah for the very first time. And that's the first time I went. Well, Harold introduced me to Jerry, and then Jerry, Harold, and this guy, and Will Kearns were in like this small study group. And I thought, you go to Home Depot and get one of those junipers. That's where, like, over time, you turn into these cocoa food junipers. I was like, I didn't know how they did it, but I was like, well, I guess that's how you do it.
Yeah.
And so Jerry was like, what are you doing? And he looked at a calendar. He goes, March 7th. I was like, I don't know, because it was January. He's like, we're going to go to Utah. So we went to Utah and just like tromped around there and looked at trees and dug a few trees. But that's really what that kind of opened my eyes to where these great trees come from. It's like, oh, you got to go to the mountains and collect them that way. So,
did you have experience in the mountains before this? No. Okay.
I didn't.
So this got you going into the mountains. Bonsai did.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, because I also, like, I was the art director, but I also played in bands because I have a degree in music. And so.
You do. That's cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I was wasting my time doing other things, instead of like going to the mountains and, but it's fine. That's something I had to do, but then once I got out of bands and music, then I needed an outlet for creativity. And like Bonsai was kind of that.
Yeah.
Was that outlet. So
tell me a little bit more about the band phase, because I actually was in a bunch of bands too, played guitar forever.
Yeah.
I was in choir. And when I was in high school and college, that was all I did is go to shows or like play guitar and hang out with the friends and go to concerts.
Yeah. No, I have a degree in music. So when I was going to college, I had every minute of every day mapped out so I could get, like, if I practiced like 4 or 5 hours, I was pretty upset because that wasn't enough. So usually I tried to practice like 6 to 8 hours, but I got a degree in music. And then, I played in like metal bands, if that was like what I did. I had dreadlocks down my butt, and I had Marshall and Mesa Boogie stacks that were tall. Like I played Red Rocks, Red Rocks. I played that twice. So I played some like big venues with opening for big bands, like, I don't know. So Motley Crue and Godsmack and Bush and like big bands like that.
That's so cool.
But I don't know. It's good. It's good that probably it didn't go further than it did, for like I'm an all or nothing kind of person. And so that, with drinking or whatever, it's like all or nothing. And so like now I'm nothing. I don't drink at all. I'm pretty straight edge.
Yeah.
So, but it's good in the long run for my health that it stopped when it did, and bonsai is a very interesting, art form that took over playing, from playing in bands. But
what are some bands that influenced you a whole lot?
Yeah,
and I was really into metal. My first album was Deftones or On the Fur.
Yeah.
I think that was what it was called, right?
Yep, it is.
I love that album. So good.
Deftones was a huge influence on me. I mean, Ozzy was a big influence, but then like I liked Korn a lot. I never had a 7-string, but I liked that style. Like Tool or A Perfect Circle was a big influence.
Yeah.
White Zombie. Like I loved White Zombie. So stuff like that. Yes. Like it wasn't as much of an influence on me, but on like a singer that I had, he liked like Alice in Chains, Stone Temple Pilots, and stuff like that. So
yeah,
when I played in bands, what we did, I had at the time it was like state of the art keyboard, so I would like sample stuff and do electronic. Like I liked Prodigy and the Crystal Method and Chemical Brothers and a lot of electronic stuff.
Yeah,
and so I'd program all this electronic stuff, and then we do like drop C tuning with just heavy guitars over top of it. So it was, I don't know, it was a lot of fun, but yeah,
awesome.
Yeah,
and Red Rocks is on my bucket list. Everyone says you have to go see a show there. I hear it's just absolutely beautiful.
It's beautiful. They also in the summers they have movie on the rocks.
Oh, cool.
It's like Bridget and I, we've gone up and seen Jaws and Raiders of the Lost Ark and stuff like that. But so for movies, it's great. It's just it's an incredible venue. So yeah, I know if you come back in the summer, I don't know when you come back next, but if it's in the summer sometime, there's shows there all the time. So
awesome. Well, it's on my list.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, so you went collecting for the first time.
Yeah.
And then was it kind of a gradual shift over to bonsai from music?
I was doing both at the time, and actually I went to the mountains with Jerry, and then like I don't know how late, it was a long time ago, but at one point I had quit drinking. And so instead of like drinking, I had to find stuff to do. And so I would go to the mountains.
Yeah.
And that was a way to like clear my head and kind of keep myself sane when I didn't drink. I wasn't drinking every day, but when I did drink, I drank a lot. So I was like a binge drinker, you know, so that's but then I was like, all right, I can't drink. So I would start going to the mountains. So that was the way I started, like really hitting the mountains quite a bit.
Awesome. Yeah. That's a good trade-off.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Okay. So you started collecting and then, or not yet?
No. Yeah, I was just trying to think of what year it was, but I don't know when it was.
Yeah.
2010 or something maybe.
Okay. Sweet.
So.
And then when did you start studying with Ryan?
So Ryan was 2012. I started studying with him. So I take that back. Maybe it was 2004 I started collecting. So, but yes, 2012 I started studying with Ryan.
Okay. Sweet. Very cool. And now bonsai professional of several years. Would you tell me a little bit about your kind of how your time is divided up? We fast forwarded way fast, but what's your time divided up like bonsai wise these days?
Yeah. So basically, like right now from January until May 1st, or actually this coming, May 1st, I travel a lot and then I have classes. So I don't know. I think maybe I've had one day off where I didn't have to work and I could just like water, but that's about it, literally since the beginning of the year. And then like from May until the end of August, beginning of September, I'm home. So I stay home most of this time. There's a couple places I go to, but it's pretty minimal. So I try to stay home, stay around the garden, collect, work on trees, teach classes. And then starting like September, October to Thanksgiving, I travel, because it's like once you hit October, unless you have a greenhouse, there's not a lot of stuff you can do because you have to protect trees because our winters are pretty severe. So I kind of cut classes off in October.
Yeah.
And then I start traveling more to places that can still, that have a little milder climate. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
And are you traveling all over the US, or do you generally like try and stick as close as home as possible?
No, I'm all over the US, but I don't know, it's people that I've worked for in the past. And so and there's some places where like before I'd go 2 times a year and now I can only go once a year, so it's trying to, I go all over the US this year. I'm going to England in June. But it's kind of people that I've had for a while.
Yeah.
That I've been with for a while.
That makes total sense to me. I feel like, and I work with Peter and Peter T, and you have to find people where it's going to be a win-win for the bonsai professional and the client.
Yeah.
Both of you have to get what you want. It just has to be a working relationship. You have to vibe together. And so I think that there's not enough bonsai professionals to really go around maybe in the US. And that's kind of what I have witnessed, or that's kind of my theory.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're willing to travel, you could stay busy every day.
Yeah.
And you can make a living. It's like I think some people will get weeded out, as to what they're built. But for the most part, I feel like if you're willing to travel, there is so much work out there, because the United States is gigantic and there's not a ton of, professionals to go around. So when I first quit my job and then to start doing bonsai full time, I had a few things lined up when I quit, like from March 1st. That's when I said, like, my last day was Friday, was actually the Friday was March 3rd. And so I had like from March to June basically open. But it's like, well, we'll see, and then like immediately you start getting work. And so I would like be gone 10 days and then home 4. And I was taking like anything. I was taking anything because like part of it, you have to prove yourself. It's like repetition on trees, because like I'd studied with Ryan and I went there like 3 times a year. And then when I wasn't there, I was at home getting up at like 6 and working on trees and going to work and then coming home and working on trees till night. So that's all I worked, and I worked on trees. That's all I did. But then when you go and you start traveling, you start seeing species you didn't necessarily spend a lot of time with, and raw trees that I thought, I have a good grasp on designing these raw trees. And you find out very quickly that you don't. And so there's a big learning gap, in the beginning, and you find out that you don't know, as much as you think. But I don't know, it was good. It was good, to be able to do that and to get that amount of work, to where I was able to make a living out of it. And, I don't know, you gotta prove yourself. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And now you're giving an opportunity. You have an apprentice here. I got to meet him.
Yeah.
He's like a really cool guy.
He's great. And he was a student here. And for 3 years, he was a student. And so he had asked, I don't know if it wasn't last year, it was the year before, about coming out here and like apprenticing. And I was not interested in that. And I'd had 3 other people before him ask, like, if that an option, and it wasn't something I was interested in. And then last year, when he was here in August, it kind of came up again. And I don't know, I have gotten to a point where I'm at where it's like I do need help. And like my garden and the trees that I have there's quite a few. And it's like I need that extra hand. And so I was open to it, and it's like, yeah, let's do it, and so we'll see. And then when I was driving to nationals, he called me and he's like, hey, I got everything squared away. I could be there in November. So it's like, great, do it. So he's been here since November.
Awesome.
And then we'll see. But he had like a certain like timeline that he had committed to, and we've been talking about that. So I'm thinking he's going to extend that timeline.
Yeah.
Which is good. And I don't know, one thing with him, he's talented. Like, he's talented already. And when he came here, like the first time, I was like, oh, this, Francesco has talent. And so that helps me too. And then too, being a student, he understands and knows like my aesthetic and what I'm going for. And I know, watching him work, I know where some of his weaknesses and strong points are. And then like just being able to give him the work to where I know the trees are in good hands, but I also know like I can what I'll be adjusting, and it'll be good for him to see how I adjust his work, but yeah, it's worked out really well, and we get along, because that's, I think, one, like over here it's different than I think in Japan, because at least for me over here, I need to like you.
Yeah.
If I'm going to spend that much time with you, and if I don't, or if I don't know, if you suck the energy out of me, it's not going to work,
Yeah.
So there's a personalities, have to kind of mesh, like you were saying, in order to have this work over here. So
Yeah. I feel like people rub off on you, whether you like it or not. And if you spend a lot of time around someone, they're just going to rub off on you, whether you like it or not, whether it's positive or negative.
Yeah.
And so for me, I think you should be very guarded in the people that you choose to spend your time with.
Yeah.
I also think that it seems like a tip for people that want to apprentice with professionals is it should come out organically, or the relationship should evolve organically, and you have to do like a test run kind of thing. You have to get to know the professional before you ask. I feel like you shouldn't just ask somebody, especially if you don't know them very well.
I mean, I think it's good. Yeah, it's like it's a good ask, but so with Francesco is different because I knew his personality, and also like before he even got here, he shipped all of his trees out. Because that was one of the things I told him. It's like, look, we can keep your trees here, so you don't have to like sell everything, or you don't have to board them out there. It's like, bring them out here.
That's awesome.
Because I've had like some influence on some of his trees too, and I like some of his trees, so it's like, yeah, bring them out. We'll stick them in the garden. But yeah, if I had not known his personality, then it's like I don't know, like 3-month trial or 1-month trial, or that's how it would have to be with me in order to know how we're going to work together. So
yeah, gotcha. Well, I'm glad you found someone. He seems like a solid dude.
He is,
and you definitely have enough trees to keep.
Yeah,
more than
one. Yeah. I mean, maybe I need another apprentice. I don't know. So
nice. What about like next maybe 10, 15 years? Where do you see yourself going bonsai wise?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think ideally I'd like to stay home more. I would like to just like build trees more. I'd like to have my garden done. I think maybe 5 years. Maybe that's in my 5-year plan, is to have like all the structures done. Because there's still like more, like right in front of my greenhouse. It's like, do I build another structure there? So I have areas where I could build stuff.
Your garden looks beautiful. Like it's looking really nice. I love the structures that you made. Look really, really good.
Yeah, the structures are pretty neat. I need, like in the show garden, I'm going to bring in more stone, like big boulders, and bring in more of the gravel because it's a little thin in areas, and I still need to landscape everything. So I think that's one of the, like when you're building a garden, when I first got that back structure done, I just wanted plants in there. So I went to like a garden center and just picked pretty things that were flowering. Yeah. And planted them in there. And so, but now what I have to basically anything I plant in the ground now probably needs to come out, and I need to like come up with what are the plants that I'm going to use and have it so it's cohesive throughout the whole garden, and pick like, these are my plants, not, that one's flowering and it's purple, and this one's yellow, and I like flowers. So, and this is red. I don't have a red one. And so it's kind of like very scattered at the moment.
Yeah.
So I need to, like just figure out or have a garden designer help me with what are the plants that I'm going to have in there?
Yeah.
How did you do it with yours? Did you just design it all? And
Yeah, I did. I actually like picking plants. I took a page from Matt, Michigan Yamadori. He was like, I started with a bunch of different plants. I had all kinds, and then after a while, I kept like pulling those out and just going with the ones that I really like.
Yeah.
Which I think that's what I'm doing. I kind of got a few too many. What I have kind of a funky time with in my garden is I really want to do a native thing, but I also like the Japanese stuff. And so I don't know if it makes sense to blend the two, which is kind of what I'm doing right now. Or I think maybe long term, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a native garden with California natives, Sierra junipers, ponderosa pine kind of thing. And then like more of a traditional Asian, Japanese plants. But I don't know if there's a right answer to that or not. And I've just picked plants that I love, like ones that I've seen up in the mountains or, Asian species that I like.
Yeah.
So
there's a place here where it's all they do is sell native plants.
Yeah.
So I think that's when I'm ready to, pick my grasses and pick like some like sedum type things or, ground covery things or even whatever. I think I'm just going to go there and like have them help me with my palette. And then
I like that.
There's always like euonymus is a neat plant, the burning bush. It's like, and then what are some of those things that have, I don't know. I would like maybe even like some of the Korean maples because they're hardy to zone 4. But then you get like seasonal color, and different things like that. So it's like, what are those? I love forsythia, but then they're sweet in the spring. And then like the rest of the year, they're kind of, they're not that cool, But so I don't know, just finding those plants that have like some seasonal variation to them that keeps things. That's part of the reason why like all of a sudden I got into deciduous because like there are springs when Japanese maples or larch or hornbeams or anything like that, when they're just first pushing, it's like the most beautiful thing ever. And then you get the fall colors.
Yeah.
And I mean, I even look at conifers, like the spring push is great. And then usually in the fall, it's like, oh, they're just shedding needles. But I try to look at that as like, that's their fall color.
Yeah.
And like appreciating that foliage that they're dropping,
It's funny. So Akigitsune bonsai, is he?
Yep.
Is that what people call him?
Well, I call him Isaiah.
Isaiah.
Yeah.
Isaiah. So he posted a pomegranate that I think you helped him repot.
Yeah.
I remember he told me he didn't like deciduous, which is super funny.
Yeah.
I feel like as a bonsai person, even if you're really into conifers, if you have some deciduous, it just makes your conifers like stand out or look better. Or I don't know what it is, but it's like nice to have some balance in the garden.
I kept telling him, it's like, just wait.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I don't. I just want more junipers and conifers. I don't want deciduous. And I kept telling him, just wait. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, what do we have here? Because like a truck came through to pick up some stuff for me that was going out there for repotting. And so he's like, will you check on everything? So I went in and watered everything. It's like, oh, there's some corkbark elms in here. What are those doing in here? And it's like, oh, yeah. The pomegranate. And all. So it's like, well, it's not deciduous, but
so
still, it's basically, I kept telling us, just wait. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, here we go.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I love it. So if just magically an extra $200,000 appeared and you had to put it into your garden like right away, what do you think you would do with that?
So I think I would probably, because I think I would build, if permits allowed it, what I would do is take down my greenhouse and build a bigger greenhouse out of like that, out of lumber.
Yeah.
Like the one I have is kind of industrial. It works great and I love it and it protects the trees and everything. But I would ideally, what I think I would do is I would take where the greenhouse is in that whole area in front, and I would build that whole thing into a greenhouse, but then have it to where maybe the panels come off or the tops open up, so it's not vacant during the winter or during the summer. Something so it's like functional during the summer, and then you can like board it up, heat it in the winter. So I think $200,000 would do that. I think 100,000 would probably do it, but
Okay.
200 would for sure. So
Sweet.
but I think I would finish the other. I'd bring in whatever stone I need to, but for the main thing is, I think it would be really interesting to have, because here we get down to, in the summers, we'll hit 100. And in the winters this year wasn't too bad. We got down to 0, but most winters we're we'll hit the negatives.
Yeah.
And so it'd be nice to have a big structure like that that's functional, has dual functionality for the summer and the winter. And so, but the structures that I built, that kind of like when I was building those and talking with the architect and sending him my initial designs, that was my idea for that too. It's like, I need something that can provide some sort of shade in the summer, but then can provide protection from the sun and wind in the winter. And so that's why I have it built like that, why I have like 2x8s, what is that, perpendicular to like a foot on center. So then in the summer it gets 70%. I did a sun test. I had another friend that was an architect, Scott, in Wisconsin. And so I sent him the drawings that I had, and he like AutoCAD it up. And so we took like 2x6s, 2x4s, 2x8s, 2x whatever, and we did this whole sun test. So he could say June 21st, here's where the sun is at your zip code, and December 21st, here's how it's going to look in your zip code. So we're able to do a whole sun test on that. And then in the winter, I just take 6-foot tall, heavy duty weed barrier, and I enclose the structure, that any of the trees that are out in the different areas, and it blocks the wind. And because of how the 2x8s are and how it's all built, it's bright, but there's not a lot of direct sun in there.
Yeah.
And so it helps like moderate the temperature, because in the winter, like you're in the sun, it's hot, and you walk in there and there's a significant drop in temperature. So it helps like stabilize temperatures. So that's kind of like how I went about building the structures I have out there. And two, like we get hail. And so like the 2x8s also help, like, because it comes in at an angle, because a lot of times there's a heavy winds with it. So that helps protect from hail. So yeah, but how did we get there? We got there from 200,000. Yeah, so that's kind of that. But yeah, having a greenhouse, but then like with that's kind of my thought process on building the structures that I had. So
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet. I feel like the bonsai enthusiasts of the greater Denver area are so lucky to have you, especially after you've built this, because they get to learn from how you did it and what you learned and how to adjust for your climate.
Yeah.
I feel like one of the challenges in the United States is like we have so many different climate and everybody's weather and challenges are different when it comes to that.
Yeah.
That it's just so much that you would know. Like, I'm sure you go see Ryan, there's still a lot of adjustments that you have to make in terms of like this climate. Like, it's a lot drier here, I would assume. So probably watering is.
I mean, even earlier this week, I'd be curious what it was today, but earlier this week, the humidity was 12%. So it's really
low.
It's really dry, so yes, watering is a thing. The UV index is a thing. And so we have two more people around Colorado that are into bonsai are all putting up some sort of like shade protection, like as temperatures rise and, things are changing climate wise. And so a lot of people are building that. But yeah, I think I've helped out. I hope I've helped out the community and being like accessible to people. And, when I was in Sacramento for their show, they brought me in a couple years ago, and and I saw Peter there, and Peter took me to his place. And so it's like the same thing. I
Yeah.
told him when I was doing my demo, it's like, I hope everyone here realizes how fortunate you are to have Peter this close to you, you know? So I think I'm hoping they feel, you know, that same way with me, that I'm able to help them out and, you know, help with their trees and help them learn from my mistakes and my, you know, the growing pains from that I've gone through. So
Absolutely. Yeah, no, we're very lucky to have you in the US.
oh, thanks.
I feel like it's so cool just to see people pushing bonsai forward in the US. And I take a lot of pride in American bonsai. I don't know if that's silly or what, but like
It's not.
I feel like we are a team, an American bonsai team, and I just love to see us elevate. And it's because of people like you who took a leap, bet on yourself, and it ended up working out really well.
Yeah.
And, it's really cool to get to see the fruits of your labor and everything you've been doing here. It's looking so cool.
Yeah,
Like it's really awesome to talk with you.
Yeah. Thanks. No, I feel very fortunate. A lot of times, like I'll walk down to the garden and it's like you have to kind of step back and just appreciate what's there and realize what it was like 3 years ago, you know, and just be like, wow, this structure is pretty cool. And like the trees I have are pretty cool, because when you're in it every day, you kind of maybe you become a little jaded or a little like, yeah, it's a cool tree. Yeah, it's cool.
One question I have for you is do you think that as you gain more experience in bonsai, that the level of a really badass, impressive tree has to go up and up and up for you? Because that's a thing, right?
Yeah, it's harder. I love trees, but like one where it's like, okay, that moves me. It becomes harder and harder. Like you see so many trees that have like this form.
Yeah.
It's like I've seen that form before. And so, yeah, it's harder. I just did, I did judging for that Bonsaigers, you know, for their annual or their yearly, like that event. And so one of the things, like I voted for a tree, and the owner of the tree that I like, where two of them were competing, and I voted for B, and maybe the owner of A like wrote me. He's like, I'm just curious why, you know, you didn't want. It's like your tree's great, but I'd seen that form before, and it was nicely executed. But this other one is like, it was executed very well, and I hadn't seen this before. So that's where my judging, whether that was an error on my part or not, but at the same time, it's like, I haven't seen this before.
Yeah.
You know? So that's, you know, that it moves me a little more, where I've seen this form before, and I've seen this look before 100 times, you know? And so I think that's where it comes into play, where not necessarily species, but yeah, it just, someone has a quirky new like feel on things, like Hugh Grant in Australia, tree makers, like a lot of his where it's like very Mediterranean, you know, but it's like how he designs trees. It's like even black pines have this kind of Mediterranean feel to them and this look, and it's really inspiring, because you don't see a lot of work like that that's on that level, you know. So it's like he's a quite a talent, and you know, a lot of the trees that he posts really moves me. So
yeah, it's interesting. I remember Jonas of Bonsai Tonight,
sure,
telling me that basically, like, as a judge, you would be harder on the trees that you know super well. And I think that's true, actually. So, for example, with spruce, with blue spruce, I feel like you know more than probably anybody, you know, like what a good, the highest quality blue spruce look like.
right?
And what are the characteristics. And it probably takes a lot to get you like really jazzed on a blue spruce, because you have some of the best ones.
I mean, I have some good ones. I say I have some good ones. You know, where I have some good ones.
Probably you three have the
I
best.
don't know anyone else
You three
that
have
has
the best
the good ones. Yeah,
I'll tell
have
you,
better ones. So
you three probably have the best.
yeah, but it is with, and so too. Like I go and I work for Isaiah, and it's fun. It's fun working on his spruces because it's the material he has. It's really good, and they're not trees that I collected, but I do enjoy working on them because they are, the quality of those trees it's very high, and you have to have a lot of respect for them, and at times, it's a little intimidating. At times, it's like it's still techniques are the same, like thought process is the same, but you just have to, I don't know, just being very, I don't know, I don't want to say like cautious, but just thinking a couple steps ahead, maybe, or like thinking a couple, multiple times before you do something, just to make sure. Because on some of those trees, you have one shot at it, or the branches are very brittle. So you have to be, very concise and know exactly what you want to do ahead of time. But
Absolutely.
at the end, it's a lot of fun when they turn out really well, and then they grow and they do really well. So it's,
Yes.
that's how it is with bonsai, and like doing big structural stuff. It is nerve-wracking when you're taking live veins out and on old Rockies, and you're moving branches, almost like 90 degrees or whatever. It's like none of that is fun, and it's scary. But when you've engineered it correctly, and then you've done all the moves, and the branch continues to grow, it's so rewarding, and it's like exhilarating knowing that work went successfully. So
100%.
yeah.
Did I see some videos? You have a skid steer or what's it called?
Dingo.
A dingo?
I have a Toro Dingo
That's so cool.
X427. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I want one someday. But for big trees, it's like seems so convenient.
It's necessary. So there's a pro and a con.
Okay.
The pro is like, if you have big trees, it's easy to move them around. The con is you keep getting bigger and bigger trees. Now, that's the thing.
Yeah.
If I'm collecting a tree or if I'm buying, all I have to do is get it to my truck. That's it. After that, the dingo can take it over.
Yeah.
And I can, drag it onto the dingo. The dingo can bring it down. I can, so.
That sounds like two pros to me.
I mean, it is, but yeah, it is two pros. But yeah, I got that. That was my first purchase when we got this house, partially because the property's so big.
Yeah.
And like trying to roll a cart down and in there and on all the gravel. I knew that was going to be a nightmare. So I decided, I'd and I knew I was going to be building a lot of stuff. So you can get all the attachments for that, like augers and trenchers and everything. So it's really handy. But yeah, a skid steer makes. So when I was buying it, I told my wife, it's like, you'll never have to help me move trees again. And she was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Before with the big trees, I'd never like help me shuffle them somewhere or like make sure I don't jack something up. But
yeah, I feel like you're a badass if you have a skid steer and you bought it to move bonsai trees.
Yeah.
That's really
I'll take that. I'll take that.
Yeah, I would like to get one. Now, do the trees shake a lot? Do you have to be careful of that?
So with mine, it does, but the dingo that I have, it's like a narrow track, and so it's pretty smooth.
Okay.
So I know some of the bigger kind of skid steers, when you're trying to turn, like they move a lot.
Yeah.
But the one I have is pretty smooth.
Okay.
So
Sweet.
yeah.
Sweet. That's very cool. Yeah. Someday I would like to get one.
I mean, used they're, I don't know, $10,000 to $15,000.
Yeah. I mean,
that sounds like a good investment for you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I probably will get one.
Yeah.
I have like the biggest, well, not the biggest hydraulic cart, but I have a pretty legit hydraulic cart. But even that, I mean, I just put a tree on a slab. I'll show you pictures later, but we weighed it and it was 277 pounds dry.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, man, I should it would be nice to not have to move these things around so much.
Well, then you could build a stand that slab sits on,
Yeah.
and have it like out of wood so it looks nice, and then that tree just lives on there.
Yep.
And if you need to move it, you just use it with your skid steer, but you have basically you build a platform for it that is just for that tree, and it just lives on that. So
Yeah. I appreciate the tips on the dingo and the tips on how to sell your wife on getting it.
Yeah, it helps.
That's perfect.
It helps.
Awesome. I was curious if we could go back a little bit. I know that you came up in bonsai with Jerry Morris.
Yeah.
And he's someone that I never met, but I see his name quite a bit. I talked to Will about him a little bit.
Oh, mm-hmm.
And I have been somewhat interested in like rare conifers. And so I've seen his name pop up there.
Oh, sure.
Could you tell me a little bit more about him?
Yeah. So he's a very interesting man. And so he passed away in 22, but he did like landscape. And so that was kind of like, that was his job, but he was in the army. And when he was in the army, he would make donuts for everyone. And he would make them, he could fit them over his arm. So like the guys in the trenches, he'd make them. And he would tell me, he's like running across the field and they wouldn't shoot at him, or maybe they did. But then he would go like down in these trenches in the Korean War, maybe. I forget. But then he would bring donuts to all the soldiers down there. So that's like part of what he did in the army. But he also, when he was 11 or 12, his father broke his back. And so they were living up in Morrison, which is like where Red Rocks is. They were living up there. And so he quit school because he had to provide for the family because his father had broken his back. So at 13, dropped out of school, and then he would go in the mountains and he would hunt and get deer and elk and bears and different things like that. And so that was him until maybe 16. I don't even think he ever went back to school. So then he started getting into plants. And then he fell in love with like brooms, dwarf conifers. And so that's where, like in the conifer societies, the dwarf conifer society, like everybody knows Jerry because he's got, I want to say like in my head, it's like 200 different plants that he's named. I don't know if it's that many or not, but at the Denver Botanic Garden, there's a whole section of dwarf conifers that are all from Jerry.
Wow.
And so he would go find, like there's spruces and ponderosas and limbers and all these things. He would find brooms up in trees, and then he would like get a shotgun and blow them out of the trees and then get all the foliage that came or the branch that he blew off, and then he would graft that. And then he would name it after different things and his kids and his wife and different things like that. So
that's cool.
Yeah, Jerry, I was at it closed now, but it was called Timberline Gardens. And it was right by Kong. And I would go over there and look, and there were all these spruce like dwarfs and pinyon dwarfs and different things like that. And they were all like from Jerry. So yeah, he's really well known for the dwarf. How long are you here for?
Just till tomorrow.
Oh, all right. Because I was going to say, if you could go to the Botanic Gardens, it's there. There's a section there that just are dwarf conifers, and those are all from Jerry. So
cool.
Yeah. But yeah, that's where he really got a name, and he would travel to like California and different areas to like go to different conferences and different things like that. And then, yeah, through his landscape company, he met this family, and he probably did landscaping. I'm making some of this up, I'm not sure, but my guess is at one point he did landscaping for this family up in Aspen. And knowing the family, my guess is they realized what they had in Jerry. So then they just hired him on full time, and he sold his landscape company. And then he just worked for them and built that mountain, went around and collected all these like unusual species of plants. So
he would collect like full size trees and use them in his landscape company.
Well, he would use them for that family in Aspen. He would he would go, and that's he collected some trees out of this private property, spruces.
Uh-huh.
He'd go in there, got permission,
Yeah.
dug that, and then there were some other areas that he showed me where it was all like part of a mountain that was owned by a rancher. He's like, "Yep, I got permission from them," and then we'd pay him to get access to the mountain, and then we would dig like different ancient trees. You know, he called them the ancients. But there's some huge ficus trees in Florida at Disney, like Epcot Center or Disney World, one of those two, and they weren't doing well. And so they called Jerry. Jerry went down there, and he actually figured out, like, if you add a percentage of hydrogen peroxide to the water, and then pour it on these ficus trees, like it would help oxygenate the water or kill whatever fungus was in there,
Yeah.
whatever the low percentage is of the peroxide. And he pulled these trees through. So there's some things like that where he got calls from all over
Yeah.
to come and try to help rehabilitate trees that were sick.
Yeah.
So
That's so cool.
it's pretty cool. Yeah, he was an amazing person. I loved him just like a father, you know. It's like I was very close with him, still close with his wife, but yeah, he was a legend. He's a legend, you know, and he was just a tough man. So
Yeah. You know, I'm bummed because there's a documentary about him somewhere floating around online. And for whatever reason, I have only seen, it's like the promo video for the documentary, but it's like, I'll have to find it and send it to you or show you. But I really want to watch the documentary. And I don't know if it was ever created or where you can watch it. But I think it'd be like it's been out for a long time, and I've really wanted to watch it, but I can't find it. I'll show you the promo. I'll find the promo. I'll email it to you.
Do you know who did it?
I can't remember off the top of my head. It may have been like a rare conifer society or something or other like that.
Yeah, show me. Yeah, I would be very interested in that, and
I'll send it to you.
See if we could track down.
Yeah.
Where that full film is.
Yes, I'll send it to you.
All right.
Regarding dwarf conifers, I do wonder if there's some application for bonsai. I guess I'm curious your thoughts. So for a long time, I was like convinced we should be grafting dwarf pondo onto regular pondo.
Yeah.
However, I don't know if that's such a good idea because I feel like a lot of times dwarf species are not as strong as the natural ones.
Right.
So it may just be a giant headache and result in, you know, too much failure to make it worthwhile.
Yeah, they're slow growers too.
Yes.
I don't know. So when did you go to Kokofu this year?
I did not. No.
But so over there, some of the white pines. Yeah, I forget what the species is, but they almost look like they were like a dwarf variety.
Yeah.
You know, like brevifolia, where it's like this teeny, like a really tight, small white pine. But there were a few over there, and I just wonder how long did it take those trees growing in the ground to get as big a trunks that they had, because they were big trees with just this tight foliage. I don't know. I've never tried it, to be honest, but I don't know. I think I think within like those dwarf varieties, there's some that are tighter and smaller and some that are a little bigger and looser, you know? So it's like, I think some of those maybe bigger varieties could be useful. You know, it'd be interesting to see. I don't know if like eventually does the stock or the scion, like, does it just, because it's slower growing, does it just kind of lose out on like that, the attachment, or does it get pushed out? I don't know long term how that works, but
it's a lot of experimental. And if you have a badass ponderosa, I could see why you wouldn't want to do that, because you want to create it into a badass bonsai. You don't want to waste 10 years learning that, oh, hey, I shouldn't have done that. It didn't work out.
Yeah.
It's a big experiment.
And I like the game of trying to get, I had a tree and I lost it with the water, but I had a tree that was one of the first trees I ever collected, and I had it like this whole time, and it was in a small container for 12 years, Ponderosa, but it had like in 2 inch and a half needles, like maybe 2 inch needles,
Yeah.
like a black pine, or like it was small for a Ponderosa. So it's for some of that, the game, like that game is, I do appreciate that game with Ponderosas and Rockies and trying to get like good foliage on them because they can be challenging, like that spruce or the juniper, like right out in front of my,
Yeah.
well, you know, with the twisted, that's all twisty that we look at. That's a Rocky,
Yeah.
but that has very good foliage. The foliage of that is very good. And so when I wired that this winter, I took cuttings to see if I could get any of that to grow.
So I was curious because I feel like I've tried to take Sierra cutting and never have worked.
Yeah.
Whereas Kishu and Itoagawa, it's like
Easy. Yeah. You don't even have to plant them in anything.
Yes.
They just start growing. Yeah.
But for whatever reason, Sierra, 0%.
Yeah.
I could not get them. And I had in a greenhouse, I would miss them. I tried a bunch of rooting hormones, couldn't get it to work.
Yeah.
And so I was curious if you have had success yet with
not yet. And I don't know. I don't know how. We put them outside maybe yesterday or the day before, so we will know pretty quickly whether any of them took or not.
Yeah. It's cool. It's exciting. I'm glad that you try, and I hope someone is successful.
It would be great. I know from everything I've heard too and talking with different people, it's Rockies pretty hard. Sierra's hard. Utah's are hard. So I think for whatever reason, our native, I've never tried Western. So I don't know about Western, but I don't know if you try to propagate Western juniper, you probably just, but I think it's harder for our native junipers to propagate them versus those Japanese species.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
For whatever reason. That's interesting. Although I'm pretty sure that Jerry Morris collected some varieties of Rocky Mountain juniper, which they sell in the dwarf conifer industry.
Yeah.
And so if that, like, how did he do that? Is he grafting them?
He's grafting them. I think that's what he did for the most part. And then for some trees, he would find a broom, take the seeds and plant the seeds. And then from all those seeds, maybe out of 100 seeds, you get 1 or 2 or 5 like brooms. And so then he would go from seeds. So some were seeds, but most of it he was grafting. Harold Sasaki, he likes grafting too. So I know I would go over to Harold's and Jerry would bring over, he's like, oh, Jerry was just here.
Yeah.
There'd be all these branches. There were brooms of something, and Harold's there grafting bristle cones or different things, so.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Do you have a lot of bristle cones or a few?
So I used to, and then I either like sold them or mostly sold them, or I lost some when I had the water issues, but I sold most of them. And then where I collected them, I just hadn't been back there, so.
Yeah.
I think I have 2. I have 2 at the moment. So.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet. Do they grow pretty well for you, would you say?
I think bristle cones do. Bristle cones are very interesting because they bud back profusely, which is really for like as slow of a grower that they are. And even right now, like trees that are outside, ponderosas are pushing, lodgepoles were pushing like 2 months ago, limbers were pushing. The bristle cones are still, they're not even like, you can tell they're waking up and like candles, because they'll push candles, they'll start elongating. But it'll be June before like you start seeing needles on those. So they're slow here. They're so slow. They're slow, but they grow really well. They bud back really well. And there were some bristle cones that they were in tight pockets. I got them out and it's like, oh, there's no roots on here, but you got them out. So you have to take them and do your best. So I put like the trunks in pumice.
Yeah.
Kept them very shaded and they didn't die. It's like, I don't know what's going on. 2 years later, they didn't die. I pulled them out and there were roots emerging from the trunk.
Wow.
So
interesting.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing that,
Yeah.
you know, I did not expect that tree to live, but yeah,
Maybe
it did.
a fairly hardy tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think too, because like they hold needles for so long and my guess is that not the callus, but the cuticle on the needles is so thick that they're able to hold water in. So maybe that's like it was able to hold water in. It was able to still photosynthesize for so long, you know, that they were able to grow new roots in the interim, or
That would make sense.
whether that's true or not, that's all
Yeah.
speculation, but
That's cool. Yeah. I mean, I think they're the longest living trees or things in the world.
yeah.
And I think that they outcompete other plants in areas, you know, so they must be very hardy.
Yeah.
It's like,
Some survival mechanism in there.
yeah. That's great. Going back, I was curious, how did you come up with the name First Branch Bonsai?
Yeah. So when I was trying to come up with a name because before I did this, I started a website because I'd go up to the mountains and I'd find a tree and I was like, I don't necessarily want this, but I bet someone else would. So it's like, oh, I could sell some trees online. And that's kind of how like I started. So before I started doing bonsai professionally, like people knew me as a collector.
Yeah.
And so, but I was just trying to think of like, what's an easy name that everyone would remember? And it's like, everyone thinks like, oh, well, your First Branch. And so that's kind of where that came from. It's like, yeah, all trees have like this first branch, you know?
Yeah.
So it was something, yeah, that everyone I figured would be able to associate with. So that's how I came up with it. So
That's funny. I think I remember stumbling on your website back in the day before you were known as like a bonsai professional, and I didn't connect those two until now. So that's really cool.
yeah.
Love it. I guess regarding earlier, we were talking about environments that dwarf a tree. Are you aware of any other environments, or have you ever heard about other environments or things that naturally dwarf trees?
To me, environments mean like either stone, right? Rock, because the roots have nowhere to go. So they're naturally get dwarfed because their access to water and nutrients is very limited. Soil, right? That can dwarf trees because even like in the desert, those trees are pretty old and they're living in like this sand or caliche with kind of dwarf them. Also elevation, I think, is one of the things that can dwarf a tree, you know? So when the trees, there's a place here at Mount Evans and I go up there every year. It's like a national park. So it's not for collecting trees, but I just like going up there and walking around. And you go up there and it's like 13,000 feet, you know, or even at Windy Ridge where the bristle cones are, like that's 12,000 feet, I believe. And so it's like up there, they're still like, so let's say May 1st, they're still getting freeze. It's still a possibility of getting snow. And so their growing season is very short, you know, because let's say we start June 1st and it's done by the end of August, you know, maybe middle of September. I do know like bristle cones they'll photosynthesize at very low temperatures, you know, so that may be a way that they kind of extend their growing period. But yeah, I think, yeah, stone, like the ground, elevation. I don't know what else would stunt a tree. I mean, too, there's also like you go to the mountains and there's understory trees, so maybe amount of sunlight that they have access to could do it. But I don't know. Those are the only.
Yeah. Part of why I like talking about it is because I feel like I want to encourage other people to collect trees. And even, I'm not even talking about like what we collect currently, but for example, like out in your workshop, I saw that cool cedar elm. And I feel like there's so many different species that we're probably not even touching.
Yeah.
And I would love to see people start collecting deciduous trees and whatever grows native in their environment.
Yeah.
But I feel like what they should be looking for is maybe the environment more so than the actual trees.
So where that cedar elm came from, it's in Texas. And all, like I don't know how many, I have 6 or so maybe cedar elms. But the guy that digs them, he digs them from a field, but there's cattle, there's boars, so it's like the cattle eat those down, deer eat that down. I don't know if the boars eat them or not, but wild boars in Texas just tear the crap out of everything.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like that tree, I've seen a lot of cedar elms, but the trees that his name's Ken Schindler, and the trees that he digs, they're almost like winged elms. The branches I thought they were winged elms when I first saw them, but they're saying they're Texas cedar elms. They have a lot more, the trunks with how thick the striations are, and those channels where the bark is running vertically, like it's deep, and I don't know, they have a lot of character to them, and they're beautiful trees, and their leaves are a little like they're coarse, but I don't care about that because the branching is coarse, and the branching is very odd in itself. So to me, like those little rougher textured leaves match that, and so then trying to get them small, can you defoliate them multiple times? My guess is you can. But in the fall, they're just like the most beautiful yellow color, and they're just, I don't know. So yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
And I love that. And Texas too, like Texas has like the ash junipers, which are great. There's Texas persimmons there. Texas has a bunch of, and that's just Texas, it's like, who knows about some of these, like Arizona or some of I know they have some like odd plants down there that are really interesting. I forget what they're called. They almost look like, they're not like baobab or whatever those are, but it's like a succulent-ish looking kind of tree, but I don't know. If someone can chime in and let you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, in California where you are, that is probably one of the most diverse, maybe the most diverse when it comes to plants in the world. Because you have like Southern California all the way up to Northern California. There's so many different microclimates in there. There's so many different, you got like the redwoods and, it's like in the bristlecones. And there's so many like odd plants in that state. It's just the diversity is unbelievable.
Totally. And the reason redwood bonsai is a thing is because we have a Bob and a Zach shop that went out and started collecting them. Whereas before, I feel like, there were a few people that collected redwoods, but not like Bob and Zach.
Pygmy cypress.
And pygmy cypress.
Come on. It's like that's in a small location. And those that are, they only grow in California in this one, in one area that I know. I believe that's correct. But
no. That is, that's what I've heard. Yeah, I think
they dug those, they kind of made that a name. And
how many other types of trees are out there though, and we're like, what about on the East Coast? All the deciduous trees that they have out there. Like there could be some really cool opportunities, all the oaks over the place. Like I'm just excited to see all that stuff and want to see those.
American Beach. Like I know Chris Springer.
I love it.
I have an American Beach I bought from him.
Sweet.
And it's cool. And I keep bugging him about like dig more, because like beach, I love beach so much. And, it's like where he's getting them. I don't know if like beavers are chewing them down or whatever, but they're beat up trees. So it's like all that stuff's pretty exciting. So
for sure. Walking around your garden, I was just so awestruck and impressed with some of your trees. Is it tough being a bonsai professional and having to decide, like, am I selling this or am I keeping this?
Sure. There's one tree, that short spruce that you saw.
In the box?
No, it's like, but like the deadwood, the trunks, like
the jerry tree.
The jerry tree, yeah. So that is the only tree that is not for sale. Like I have trees in my collection, but for those trees to sell them, they just would have an I love you price. It's like I have a big spruce, that big spruce that's still in the greenhouse, and the ponderosa that I sold at PB had someone interested, just asking what those were. And I gave a number that I wouldn't regret, but I knew it was a big ask for those two trees because I really didn't want to sell them.
Yeah.
Because I like those trees. And it is hard because, like, even small trees, I have some trees. I went to Home Depot and got Austrian black pines, and it's like Oregon emerald or something like that. And the foliage is beautiful. And it's like $25 at the end of the year. It was a straight trunk, but it's like we planted it at an angle and then wired it. And it's like, it's a nice $25 tree, but it's a cool tree. So it is hard. I understand. Like, I had a student that was just here and he stayed a few days after. And so he was like, I'm interested in this pot. I know you like this pot, but so he's like,
yeah,
it's a horrible business model to like, because I like the stuff too, but it's like, I have to sell trees. I have to sell stuff. And that's why I have it. But there are trees where I've sold them and I'll like take them up to the person's car and we'll pack it away. And it's like, ugh, I'll miss you. I'll miss you. It is because, it's bonsai is it's a wonderful art form. And it's not like we make something and then we hang it on a wall and we just look at it whenever we're in a room or something. It's like you're there daily. It evolves like yearly, so it's always you're having this interaction with it, and so it is hard to say goodbye to those. And sometimes I can sell trees and then I get to work on them too. It's a client here or it's a client somewhere else that I go spend time with, so that helps too.
That's cool.
Where I can, it's like, I'll sell you this, but I get to work on it, or I will. So, but I don't know. It's,
Yeah, that's tough. That is that would be tough.
It is.
I thought you were going to say there's some trees that I would never sell. I mean, outside of the one.
Yeah.
But that is tough. That is just.
There's the one, but there are a few where it's like it's going to hurt. It will hurt if you're going to buy this tree because I don't really want to sell it.
Yeah.
So.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
I think it seems like a few bonsai professionals that I've spoken with, they have a similar model. Basically, like, everything's kind of for sale, but like these trees, it's way more than retail.
Yeah.
It's, like I don't want to sell that tree.
Yeah.
And that would be very, very tough.
Yeah, it is. And the Jerry tree, like that spruce, I waited 10 years to get it, and I kept asking him, do you want to sell? Nope. And then finally, when Jerry, he wasn't doing well and he was in the hospital and his wife called and she was like, some people are here and they want to buy this tree and they're offering me this much. And I was like, they're lowballing you. And I told Jerry I would pay him this much. If you can get more than that, then I would sell them the tree. And she's like, well, I don't, well, turn up. You can edit this part out.
No.
But she goes, why don't you just come over and take it then? And so I was like, sure. I went over, I gave her a check and I took the tree because I just waited so long for that tree, So, it was one of the happiest days ever when I was, able to finally purchase that tree because I waited so long. So that's my one where there's no price on that tree. But too, I bought a tree from Bill Valvanis. It's like, that's probably not for sale. I still have the sold ticket on it when I bought it from him. It's like, no, I don't even want anyone asking me about that tree because I want a Bill Valvanis tree and I like pears and I got both. So that tree's not for sale.
Yeah.
So,
very nice.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful story about the Jerry Morris tree. And I'm sure that's what he would have wanted.
Yeah.
So bonsai is interesting with our trees outlasting us. And I feel like that's unique in a lot of ways to bonsai.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we should plan those things out. It's maybe something that we don't talk about enough. It's kind of a sad subject to talk about. That's why I feel like it doesn't get talked about enough. But I feel like if we do in order to honor these trees, like we should talk about it.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, I have some people that have talked to me. It's like, if something happens to me, then will you like come get my tree or sell them and then give the family the money or figure that out? And then I've also done that with my trees, is I've contacted a couple people. And it's like, look, if something happens to me, I need you to come take the trees, sell them, do whatever, make sure Bridget doesn't have to deal with it.
yeah,
And then it's like the same thing with Bridget. I told her, if something happens, it's like, you can just sell the house, and you don't need this house. You don't need that. It's like,
it's tough because I feel like the significant others, they want to, like my wife is super sentimental. So I know she would try and hang on to some of my trees, but I don't think that's right. Take other things, if I were to pass away, take Bridget would. Yeah,
I don't think she tried to hold on to any because they stressed her out too much.
That's the way it should. I mean, like you don't want to put that responsibility taking care of a bunch of expensive trees on your wife. Yeah. So I totally get that.
No, and I told her, and so I have, but I think you're right. And so, because you don't want like some legacy trees like going by the wayside or getting neglected or dying, or, just because when something bad happens and it's coming for all of us, it's one of the last things you probably want to deal with is how do you get rid of or relocate or whatever, like all these trees. So I think that's a good point that you're making. So
most definitely. I've been a big fan of you for a long time, and I think it's awesome to see what you're doing. I feel like we're very lucky to have you in the United States.
Oh, thank you.
And you're doing some badass things, collecting some badass trees. I love that you're elevating the level of bonsai in the United States.
Yeah, thanks.
I really appreciate it.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, and too, like you doing a podcast, I know it's not easy. I know it takes a lot of time, but it helps us too, and it's helping the community and helping, spread, bonsai and getting people more aware of it and making it, more accessible, because there's not, I don't know, it's another avenue to introduce people to it. So
yeah,
it helps us too, it helps the professionals, what you're doing. And I appreciate you like appreciating my work, but you have a lot of very nice trees too. So just to,
thank you.
If we're going to just to be realistic. So,
well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And I want to see bonsai continue to be elevated by people like you and grow. I feel like bonsai is such a niche within a niche, and it should be bigger. And it can be, and I think it will be over the next several years. But I also just want to see just like incredible trees that just blow me away. And I think we're going to see that. So I'm super pumped to see that in the future.
Well, and there's more, like people finishing their apprenticeships and, so that's like, and people coming back. And so I think all of that it's good. And it's like competition is good. It's like it's competition, and that's good for all of us, and having people coming back that are very good and that studied in Japan, it's good, and it pushes all of us, so I do appreciate that. I don't know, like I don't back away from competition because I know it helps make me better too. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Todd.
Yeah, thank you.